burned, silenced, erased, yet still here.
The witch wound is not just history. It's a living imprint carried in our voices, our bodies, and our collective memory.
This episode asks, what does it really mean to break the silence and speak your truth? What is the witch wound and how does it show up in modern life? Welcome back. It's your spiritual besties. I'm Elise.
And I'm Jess. And this is Spiritual Alchemy,
the podcast where we explore the intersection of science, spirituality, mysticism, and philosophy.
We're here to share the wisdom of the universe that we've gained through study, practice, and life experience,
helping to provide insight and knowledge to anyone embarking on or in the midst of their spiritual journey. This is going to be woo-woo. I think there is let's just dive right in, that there is a taboo in claiming yourself as a witch, which I really have started doing in the past probably 2 years unapologetically.
Yeah.
People ask, and I say, yeah, I'm a witch.
I feel like it has been a definition that I've not always claimed, but I have always been defined by. I have always been my witch friend, Jess, or my witchy friend, Jess. And like that, I feel like a sense of pride when I hear that, but I have yet to be the one to initiate that definition of myself.
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
like,
my tummy's rumbling
because it's that intuition.
So this episode, we're specifically going to talk about the witch wounds and speaking your truth. How collective trauma around being seen, being magical, being in your femininity, owning your words, owning your voice can feel silenced, or feel like as a female collective, we are hurdling an uphill battle over and over and over again.
Or like we are being punished simply for being women.
So the witch wound defined. The witch wound isn't a medical term. It's a spiritual and cultural shorthand name that echoes the historic witch persecutions that still ripple through us today. It's the fear of being seen, the silencing of our voices, the punishment of intuition, and the embodiment of the feminine healer. It's a way of recognizing how history literally lives in our bodies as women, how we pass that throughout our family genes and DNA, how the inheritance of our intuition and what we are shapes the way that we step into our own power. So I think everybody knows like the Salem witch trials. And that's, I would say, arguably maybe one of the most famous ones in history, especially in American history. But it's across any society across the world that these are scars left behind from centuries of persecution, when tens of thousands of mostly women, because there are still male witches, I want to acknowledge that as well, that women were tortured or killed for being too intuitive, too sexual, too powerful. And sometimes, like, have you ever heard those terms that, oh, you're a witch if you have a mark on the skin, or if like you're naturally intuitive, or maybe you have midwives, natural, that ability to be really nurturing and caring, or God forbid we're outspoken.
Oh, goodness forbid you speak your mind. So one little thing I want to touch on before we really deep dive into this is that there is a difference between the witch wound and feminism. So they're not the same thing, though they are related and very correlate with each other. They emerged from centuries of patriarchal oppression. The witch wound is a collective and an individual trauma, while the feminism is a broad political social movement. So the witch wound is a new age and feminist spirituality concept that describes a collective intergenerational trauma related to historical witch hunts in Europe and North America from the 14th to 17th centuries. This persecution targeted those who threatened patriarchal control, including women who were healers, spiritually independent, or seen as different. So in modern terms, the witch wound would manifest as a fear of feminine power. It's an internal aversion to or fear of women embracing their spiritual gifts and intuition, fear of visibility and judgment, the anxiety of being seen, heard, or speaking one's truth, fear shaming, rejection or persecution, mistrust of other women, lingering suspicion of other women, a product of a history where women might accuse each other under duress.
Don't like that.
Don't like that.
Don't like that.
I feel like that kind of ties into like the wound of women, I would say, like, who can't imagine being like a girl's girl or like cheering other women on when they're succeeding. That's, you know.
I mean, yeah, I'm in the arts, and I know you know this as well, probably from dance. Like, I just finished a contract, and we had a wide variety of women, of opera singers, some older, some younger, and I was somewhere in the middle. But one of the women who had more experience, I'm not going to call her older because she's beautiful.
Yeah.
But she really got verklempt one moment where she was looking at me like giving people advice, or you should go audition for this, you should do that. And she like had tears in her eyes. She goes, this did not exist 15 years ago.
Aww.
She was like, we were tearing each other down. We were gatekeeping for ourselves. We were not this collaborative, and we weren't a girl's girl. And I was like, that's just so crazy to me, because in my head, I'm like, what's meant for us will not miss us. And when you win, I win.
And this is where it's like the patriarchal viewpoint knows that women are stronger together. So
they divided us.
Yes, because I mean, any group is stronger when they're a group. So if you start this competition with other women, who is the most beautiful, who's the fittest, who's the most talented, who's the most, has the best hair, the best style. It's like constantly putting women in competition with other women, then starts to break down that community. But how beautiful that in these recent years, we've been able to build that back, come back together.
Slowly but surely.
Slowly but surely.
And don't wait for someone else to do it. You got to do it yourself.
Exactly.
Be the leader that you want and you need.
Show other women how to show up for other women. And yeah, getting deeper into this. So we have diminished intuition, societal conditioning to ignore or distrust one's own intuition, and spiritual gifts. So contrary to the witch wound, you have feminism. It's a movement, an ideology that's aimed at achieving gender equality and social justice for all people, not just women. Its goals are broad and politically focused, seeking to dismantle structural inequalities in areas such as law, economics, and social norms.
I have so much to say about that. It's just perhaps this resurgence of healing the witch wound, like you said, they go hand in hand, came from this feminist movement.
Well, the feminist movement came later.
Okay.
So the first wave feminism was like 1848 to 1920. That's primarily focused on political equality, such as women's suffrage, property rights, and access to education. Then we have later waves, which broadened that focus to address issues such as race, class, sexuality, reproductive rights, and the list goes on. They are related, though. There are commonalities with them. Okay. So the shared roots, they're both concepts that address historical and ongoing suppression of female power and the patriarchal system. The witch trials are a historical example of extreme misogyny and the brutal enforcement of gender roles. There's a metaphorical reclaiming with both.
Okay.
So many modern feminists have reclaimed the image of the witch as a symbol of defiance against patriarchal structures, So for them, embracing the witch archetype is a way to celebrate independent female power that was demonized.
Taking back the word.
Yep.
Or the term. Taking back the term.
Taking back the word. And there's different intensities to this. So feminism seeks to address this change in a systematic external structure of oppression, while healing the witch wound is a process that is more individual and collective minded. So it's more emotional and psychological healing of that oppression.
So I wrote, how is the fear of being seen, heard, or powerful connected to ancestral and collective trauma? It's such a word cluster. Like I said before, we've often heard I'll call it the old wives' tale of like having marks on your skin. Like I've heard people say that, do you have a freckle on the outside of your pinky?
No, I have the one on my wrist.
Yeah, there's another one where they're like,
and mine's on the outside of my thumb.
Yeah, I have one as well on my thumb. Maybe it's your thumb. Like freckles in certain places are marks of a witch, which comes comes from the lore of the Salem witch trials. Like if you were accused of being a witch, they would physically check your body for these markings, which is like so random and so weird. Midwifery skills. We've seen in the past 10 years a huge resurgence of doulas, birth doulas, death doulas. That this big pharma corporate idea of having to go to a hospital is very new.
Yeah.
People used to come to your house for health reasons.
It's also just, I mean, not to get too deep into the politics of it all, but the medical institution in many senses of the word and many places is not women friendly. The healthcare system is not set up to actually help women. Like they could give a fuck. Excuse my language, but they like, it just feels like as a woman, if you have an issue, if you're bleeding for 3 days abnormally.
I have multiple women in my life that this has happened to, and it's happened at night. They've gone to the emergency room, and do you know what happens? They send them home.
Yeah.
They give them no answers. They say, come back tomorrow when our specialist is in. It's 2025. You can't tell someone at 11 p.m. why they can't stop bleeding. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. I think it's also like, I mean, this is just my side note. Women can bleed without being cut.
It's almost like we're magic. And like if a man experienced the same drop in testosterone that women experience when they go through menopause, they would admit him. Probably give him a pill. Probably there'd already be something that would exist to bring that testosterone back up.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's this idea that just being outspoken in a different time, not in 2025, even like 100 years ago, it could get you branded, quote unquote, a witch.
Yeah.
And this fear of standing out, it hasn't vanished from our society. It lives collectively in our nervous system. So there's this very new studies that have come out about epigenetics, which is the study that traumatic events can live in your DNA and it can be passed from generation to generation, because I've given this fun fact before, but you at one point were inside of your biological grandmother, right? Because you develop, like eggs in a woman develop at a certain point in the fetus development. So at one point, as your grandmother was pregnant with your mother, you were an egg inside of your mother, inside of your grandmother. Everyone following me here? So any traumatic event that your grandmother went through, you have also experienced. And in some cultures that has been famine, it's been war, it has been just atrocities. Or it could be really beautiful things. I don't want to make this so sad. Like it could be so much joy and like a very pain-free life, a lot of comfort. So that lives in our bodies. And we often say that like we share nervous systems with our mothers because you do. Says science.
Says science.
It's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
And then if you think about where your grandmother came from, right? Like, so if we are just all products of our female lineage nervous systems, that's why I think looking at where you come from, if you're come from an immigrant family, what was life like when they left their homeland? Why did they leave? That is living inside of you. But I digress. We're talking about the witch wound today. So in particularly against the witch wound, it can show up in self-silencing yourself, fearing being invisible, or bracing for backlash when you are ready to speak up and share your truth. And even today, women we face penalties for being too much, from workplace interruptions to online harassment to standing up for equal pay.
Well, you know what else is actually really interesting way that this shows up? That's so girly. Why is it a bad thing to be a girl? When did we start that? That music's girly. That's a girly book. That movie's a girly movie.
So you know what's so funny? I hated the color pink growing up. And it's not that I like hated dresses or whatever. Like I still would dress feminine presenting as a child. But if you ask anybody in my family, they knew that I hated the color pink. And when you think about that, when you think about gender, right? Pink is often associated with girls. And I still don't have an answer. If you have an answer, tell me, because I would love to know.
I don't know where that started, but I think it's less about what is girly, what is boyish. It's, what is feminine, what is masculine. It is more about the negative connotation associated with it. Because I think there's women who see the color pink as a power, like a feminine power color.
Well,
like
yeah. When
my pink power suit, or
remember
like
the first women's march, we all wore pink hats.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So there's power to it. And that to me is like reclaiming it. Because again, the patriarchy teaches you can't like that soft feminine thing. That's soft. That's feminine. That's bad. Because boys are taught to be hard, to be tough, and again, it's like we kind of find this imbalance between the masculine energy, the feminine energy. And when I say divine masculine, divine feminine, just to reiterate, I always am non-gender specific. We all have masculine and feminine traits, because divine masculine is strength in a protective, providing kind of way. It is a pillar. It is strong. It has structure. But think of like a strong Roman pillar. That's your divine masculine. Your divine feminine is like the vine that wraps around that pillar and provides beauty. It's not just a pillar anymore. It's a place where flowers grow. Divine feminine stems in like nurturing, creative, literally giving life-giving. And that doesn't just mean like biological life. That can also mean the life of a creative pursuit, the life of an idea. Yeah. When you have a dream where you're giving birth, or like there is birth in your dream, it does not actually metaphorically mean like it doesn't actually mean literally birth. Always. It can. But a lot of it is like the birth of a new idea.
I was going to say, yeah.
The beginning of something new. And it's so cool to think about how we associate certain words, certain colors, certain things to be feminine, but that's negative.
It's understanding that you have to have the balance. So when people say, I'm afraid to be seen as masculine and feminine, right? It's not personal. It's probably ancestral.
Yeah.
The witch wound reminds us that the fear of being punished for our power is old, but breaking the silence is very new.
Yeah.
So the link between witch wound and the suppression of intuition, sexuality, or feminine magic. I had my history moment.
Mm-hmm.
The colonization, patriarchy, and organized religion pulled people away from earth-based wisdom, right? The divine was outside of us, not within us, right? We've already done a ton of episodes about religion and what it's done.
Basically, the ego came in and said, if y'all are too in touch with your divine self, what do you need me for? And the ego wants to stay alive and well.
Practices like herbal medicine, midwifery, and divination were demonized as witchcraft. And in the Malleus Maleficarum in 1486, explicitly targeted midwives, healers, and legitimized torture and execution of people accused of witchcraft. And this power shift in suppressing healers and intuitive women, it paved the way for patriarchal institutions, church, state, male medicine controlling healing, sexuality, and reproduction. And this is my awful fun. It's not a fun fact. This is a sad fact. Did you know that in colonial America, because it was such a new land, if a man died and he was a married man, his land would go to his wife. Or say if there was nobody else in the lineup, it would go to his daughter. Mm-hmm. And then if another man in town accused that woman of being a witch, she was most likely tried and killed. And then the man who accused the woman of being a witch would then get the land. So the Salem witch trials, yes, are about the persecution of women, but it actually is embedded in this idea of men, probably most likely white men, stealing land from women. Which it's like, how did we get here?
I'm like, you see my face.
I know.
You see it. And for those listening, my eyes could not have rolled further back into my head.
And then I think the colonization criminalized indigenous practices, and it just severed cultural identity and it enforced obedience, because when that starts happening, right, when a man is accusing women left and right of being witches and they are being tried and persecuted, everyone's going to fall in line, or everyone's going to stop being a naturopath or an herbalist or relying on other ways to heal because they don't want to be accused. It's so fear-based. I cannot. Yeah. And then the female body and sexuality considered dangerous.
Oh.
The Christian doctrine framed female pleasure and sensuality as sinful or corrupt. And I think women figured out how to capitalize on this. So my favorite part of Pompeii, I went on the adult tour. So if you look down at the sidewalks, there are literal penises in the sidewalks that point in a direction. And our guide pointed them out. And he was like, so if you were in town, and this was a very affluent Italian, I guess it was Roman, it wasn't Italy yet, town. And if you were looking for the whorehouse or the brothel, you just followed the dicks on the ground, which literally pointed you. It was a map to where the local brothels were. And sorry, if the men couldn't keep it in their pants and women figured out how to get rich off of it, hell yeah, go off, girl.
Listen, yes, good for them. Sex work is real work. But It's the same, to me, it holds the same energy as she was asking for it. She dressed like that. She was asking for it. And it pisses me off because no, she wasn't. And it is not the woman's fault if the man, and I'm just generalizing this. Like, again, we know this happens also to men. We know this happens to many people.
Mm-hmm.
But it is not the person who it happened to's fault. It's the person who did it. It's not my fault if you drugged my drink. It's your fucking fault for being sick and thinking that that's okay to do that.
Right.
Sorry, I have tangents. I have a lot of feelings about this. But again, like how you dress it, how you behave, it's not.
So yeah, with the suppression of witchcraft, call it, right? This witch wound, sexuality was regulated, disciplined, or shamed, turning natural power into something feared. And this is a new age patriarchal view of the world. It was a way to control. And then in the modern echoes of society, many women that I have found so far, I haven't found all the women yet. It's my goal too. Many women have still struggle with trusting intuition, claiming their sexuality, embracing magic in the daily life. Like, I love voice notes. Everybody knows this about me. So a lot of times I'll tell people like, hey, get out in nature, hug a tree, put your feet on the bare grass and listen to your gut. And I'll just say this over and over again to the same person. They're like, hey, so I finally started doing that like every day. And I'm finding I have more luck every day. I'm like, yeah, that's your natural intuition. Yeah. It's your gut feeling.
When people come to me for advice, I'm like, so what do you think is the right answer? Like, what does your gut tell you? And like a lot of my women friends, since this is a witch wound women episode, a lot of my women friends will be like, well, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And then they'll tell me what they know the answer to be. And then they'll talk themselves out of it. And I'm like,
no, go back to the beginning.
No. Listen to what you just said. What you just said says what you're saying is,
yeah,
this is the answer.
So this pleasure and inner knowing, it was suppressed precisely because your gut intuition, usually your first instinct, is powerful because it's correct. So healing the witch wound in all of us is about reclaiming what was taken, not inventing something new, not, needing science-based facts to back it up. I mean, if you feel something, you feel it. Imbalances in the body, particularly to the witch wound. I've shared my story about my throat chakra, me losing my voice and getting vocal damage. You've had physical things happen to your body as well. It's just knowing that somatic symptoms of witch wounds are being studied today, and they're really finding a footing in modern science. So the throat chakra governs truth, self-expression, and communication. That's how we say how we're feeling. It's how we connect with other people. And when the throat chakra is open, it supports authenticity, singing, storytelling, speaking truth without fear. And I will find that if I'm not living my truth, my voice will get tired.
Yeah. I find if I have a confrontation, I'm not saying what I mean to somebody, or if I'm specific to witch wound, if I am like dating somebody who maybe I'm not being my true authentic self with, it'll show up in my throat because I'm not speaking my truth. I'm speaking what I believe them to want to hear. And I'm also buying into the idea that me as myself is not enough, that all of my femininity I have to suppress. I have to suppress
your intuition.
Like, your gut always knows when it's not the right person, but also having to suppress like just being happy. Like, I think like another it's like going back to what I was saying earlier about like, oh, that's girly. That's not right. It's like, it's not like texting somebody, you know, we first meet somebody. It's like that nerve wracking, like, oh, I have to text them and be like, behave a certain way. And I can't show too many emotions, or like, I can't let the person I like know that I like them. That would be crazy. But it's like, no. Listen, I started adopting a thing. This is such a side share, but I recently started just being like, no, if I like somebody, I want my person to feel good about that. Like, it's nice to be liked. It's nice to be
chosen.
Adored. It's nice to be chosen. And I want that reflected back to me. So why would I not show up as that?
Ain't nobody got time for games.
No.
Live your truth. Speak how you feel.
If you want to play a board game, play Monopoly.
I hate that game.
Well, I like it because I always win, but yeah.
So how did persecution shape these witch wounds? Witch trials punished those who spoke out. Confessions were forced and voices were silenced because they just persecuted these women. There was no, what's the actual terminology? Trial by jury or innocent until proven guilty. It wasn't like this. If you were accused, you were accused and you were silenced. And generations. So if this happened, right? Your ancestral trauma, your generations of people that you come from learned that it was safer to stay quiet than risk punishment or ridicule. Why do you think we're in this new age of Aquarius where everybody's questioning everything and seeking their own truth? And we live in this digital age where everyone can like be a creative and find their own voice because we were silenced for so long.
Yeah.
And this creates a collective pattern of self-censorship and a fear of being too loud. You know, I often talk to people who like can't handle TikTok, can't handle the reels on Instagram. People are sharing too much. I'm like, this is amazing. Everybody should share whatever they want and it should be a safe space. And who cares? Show me who you are. I want to see.
Yeah. I feel like vice versa too. It's also okay not to want to be seen, in a sense that like, I think my view on social media is that not everybody needs to know what you're doing all the time. Not everybody needs access to your life like that. If you want to let people in, that is beautiful and that is wonderful. But there's no shame in being like, oh, I don't post that often. I should post more. It's like, you post when you want to post. You share what you want to share. But also like think about why you're sharing it. Like I can share that there was a point in time when I was constantly updating my story. I needed everybody to know what I was doing all the time.
Thirst trapping.
I'm
busy. I'm cool.
I was like, I'm cool. I got cool outfits. I'm doing cool stuff. Look at me doing all the things. Look at me working. Like I'm so cool. And I'm always doing something fun and interesting. And it was like this narrative that I needed to run. But then I was like, it was like attracting a certain amount of attention from people that I was like, I don't want attention from you.
I got the ick.
You're not, yeah. I was like, I got the ick with like the practice of it. And I was like, you know what? Let's post less. Let's see how that feels. And now I'm like kind of in the state where I'm like, oh, I should probably post more. I don't post very often at all. But
who cares?
Ebbs and flows.
There's seasons of your life.
Yeah.
The leaves change. The leaves fall off the trees. And guess what? The leaves are going to grow back again. It's fine.
Yeah.
So these imbalances of our somatic symptoms that you may feel, if you feel like you are not embodying your true voice, right? This, I should post more or I should post less, right? Mm-hmm. Whatever you're feeling, if you're not enough, if the core of that is I'm not enough, these somatic symptoms, could be linked to chronic sore throats, a tight jaw, neck, shoulder tension. Thyroid issues are often linked symbolically and to a blocked throat chakra energy. Emotional signs, fear of public speaking, people pleasing, swallowing emotions, or over apologizing. I still sometimes do that. Yeah. I say sorry and I'm like, who the fuck am I saying sorry to?
Yeah.
Or energetically, it can feel like a lump in your throat when trying to speak your truth, or quite literally, and I've experienced this, losing your voice.
Yeah.
And this emotional repression, trauma research shows that suppressed emotions do not disappear. They manifest physically and psychologically. Bessel van der Kolk, gosh, I can't say that name. The Body Keeps the Score. Highly recommend that book. He is one of the leading psychologists on the teams at Johns Hopkins that created pills that alter your brain chemistry. So being able to help people with mood disorders, ADHD, psychological issues. I mean, this is that doctor. But then he also did that at Johns Hopkins, but went on to study that these, as you can take a pill to change your brain chemistry, but guess what? That shit is still living in your body, whatever caused your brain chemistry to be set off.
I recently started going back to therapy, and I have some trauma
The
that I
traumas.
need to work through. But my therapist called me out on something that I didn't realize I was doing. It goes kind of in with people pleasing. And I didn't realize that, like, while dealing with my trauma and trying to set boundaries with certain people, I am also still trying to not take up too much space. And he put it this way, he was like, be quote unquote like the good girl. Behave. Do everything right. Do the right thing. Do right by everybody. Always be kind. Like, and he made a point of like, you can set a boundary. Like, there's a world in which two things are true. You can be vocal and speak your truth and set your boundaries and be firm and still be a good person. It is not, he was like, you really just don't have this gray area when it comes to these specific things. Like, I really do see things as like, this was a good thing I did. This was a bad thing I did. And it's kind of like that philosophical idea of like, if you're lying to protect somebody, is it still a bad thing that you lied to them? That type of thing.
Listen.
And that's like, if you're lying about how you're feeling and how something is hurting you, is it still bad? Like, is it a good thing that you're protecting that person's feelings when you're the one hurting?
I'm going to make it a very blanket statement. You can work on something, but working on something is different than working through something.
Mm-hmm.
If you're working on something, I'm going to bet you're masking. I'm going to bet you're not speaking your truth. I'm going to bet you're not setting those boundaries as clear. When you're working through something, it don't give a fuck what's happening around you. You're working through it. You're in the shit, and it's okay to be like, hey, here's my line, and I'm not crossing it because I'm working through this.
Yeah.
I'm in it. I'm in the depths of this right now. So good for you. Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. Good for my therapist. Listen, I love
Earning-
being called out.
Earning their degree.
Earning that degree.
So just a reminder that for those carrying ancestral witch wounds, speaking up can trigger disproportionate amount of anxiety because the nervous system remembers danger. My favorite thing is when I like start having anxiety about a phone call or a hard conversation. I tell myself, hey, body, we're not running from a tiger trying to eat you. We are literally just calling out of work. Like, you will be fine.
Yeah. Oh, it to me is like how I know, like, in a past life, I had to have been burned at a stake. Like, let's be real.
Hey.
I
I shared this story with Jess this morning. So I was talking to Mr. Virgo, and Mr. Virgo
is Elise's partner, by the way.
he doesn't like the smell of sage, and I make fun of him all the time. And I'm like, I have this theory that if you don't like the smell of sage, you burned a witch at the stake years ago. And we were joking and laughing, and I said to him, I go, you know, if you did burn a witch at the stake, it was probably me. And you know what my last words were? I'm going to find you in the next life. And here I am.
Here she is.
Healing practices to help you reclaim your voice. Singing, chanting, humming, toning, reopen your vocal resonance, lip trill. And then Jess's favorite, journaling, storytelling, writing,
literally a writer. Yeah.
literally writing our safe circles, group rituals. We get together.
Yeah.
Call it what you will, but we get together at least once a month.
I like to say I have craft nights and then I have craft nights, and they're very two different kinds of crafts. One is like beads and painting. The other is like candles and moonlight and crystals and witchiness.
That just find a space where your truth can be witnessed without judgment. Those people are out there. The internet exists. You can find them. They're there. How can we, piggybacking off of that, how can we really truly begin to heal this witch wound, either individually or collectively?
Reclaim. Call yourself a witch, a healer, a priestess without shame. Honor the moon, Mother Moon. Remember that the moon, there's always a moon goddess, not a moon god. The moon is linked to divine femininity. It is symbolic of that divine feminine energy.
La Luna.
So make altars, light candles. Those small acts reroute you to your own power so you can take it back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And like we've said, storytelling, either you write, or I just spent 2 weeks on set and I would go up to people and I'd be like, tell me your story. Or tell me, actually, I didn't say tell me your story. I said, tell me a story. And it was really interesting because I would say 20% of people would look at me and say, what? And then the other 80% would just dive in and tell me their story, which I had said, I just said, tell me a story. And it was so beautiful to hear these people tell me any kind of tell me a story from, they told me stories from childhood. They told me a story about how they ended up on set. They told me a story about how they, were in pre-med and then completely changed their life and decided to go into the arts. And it was so, for me, it helped pass the time because we were on set for like 12 hours, but it was so beautiful to just hear these people from the jump, own your voice, tell me a story, and to hear them so willingly share.
Yeah. And that kind of blends into like circles and community, building circles, building community, and making an environment that is safe to be seen and heard.
Let the shadows come out.
Yeah. And it's shadow work. Notice where your fear still lives. I shouldn't shine. I shouldn't speak. So sit with it. Bring in the light.
And embody it. I always think of singing in choirs. I don't know. Hopefully all of our listeners at some point have sung in a choir, but I really think we should all do this more. Even singing in a concert. You go to a concert with your friends and you're all singing the same lyrics, the same song. Isn't that so magical?
Yeah.
It is. There is something truly just divine in singing your favorite song with all your favorite people.
Yeah. Or even a group of strangers who also love that song. I recently went to Mumford and Sons at the Bowl.
So good.
Hollywood Bowl in Hollywood. But one of my favorite Mumford songs came on, and it's like a group I have not really listened to since like high school, but like loved them when I was younger. And I started singing this song, and it was like everybody just singing the chorus, like just singing along. And I was like sobbing because I was like, how beautiful that we have all just like come together in this moment to just be. So
I love that.
Music really does connect us.
It's collective action. Healing doesn't erase the past. It's about weaving back together what was stolen. Every time we speak our truth or trust our intuition, we mend the thread of the witch wound. Mm. We've already talked about boundaries first. Speaking truth doesn't mean oversharing or putting yourself at risk. Sometimes it's as simple as saying, no, that doesn't work for me. Or my favorite saying, that's not my business. Mm. The witch wound.
The witch wound. Do we have any journal prompts for the witch wound?
I'm going to come up with them right now on the spot.
Great.
I think of one word that scares you to call yourself, whether that be a professional, an entrepreneur, a witch, erotic,
a boss babe, or just a boss.
I want you to write it down, and I want you to write why that's your word. Truly embody it. List 3 reasons why you're a boss babe. List 3 reasons why you're an entrepreneur. Whatever word it is that scares you, write it down and own it. I think that's a good journal prompt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd also piggyback off that and say, what moments invoke fear in you in speaking your truth? Where do you struggle? Where do you find trouble expressing yourself and your individuality, but also your divine feminine parts of yourself? What scares you, and how can we break past that fear?
And then do an action item. If you can list that fear, you can definitely find a way out of it.
Yeah.
So what am I going to do to overcome this fear? What am I going to do to reclaim that witch wound?
Yeah. And then maybe when you do the scary thing, you realize it wasn't that scary after all.
It's usually not. Hey, we started a podcast and it terrified us for a year, and look at us now.
Rocking it. Thanks for joining us today. We're so glad you were here.
For more info on our episodes and to connect with us on social media,
follow us at Spiritual Alchemy Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Stay golden.